like Susie said, my name's Kim. I'm a social work student here at Mizzou. I work for the Relationship and Sexual Violence Prevention Center, and I dabble in the Women's Center, right? Because I used to work in the Women's Center, and now I just do programming. So that's who I am. This is not, that was actually my next slide. Who's this person talking to me? What a great question. Maybe said I'm Kim. I'm not an expert in this field, right? Like, I don't study this. I study social work, like I said, but I have 25 years, right? I've been under pressure to change what my hair naturally looks like, right? And it doesn't matter if I have to damage it to change the texture, if I have to spend money that I don't have to change the texture, I still feel a pressure to look different than what I naturally look like, right? And lots of us feel that pressure in a lot of different ways. So we can all relate to what I'm going through, I bet. But I wanted to do this program to talk specifically about Black women and our hair and the societal pressures that we're under to change it and to make it look different than it looks naturally. Do you have any questions about that? So I'm no expert. This is just my experience, and I wanted to talk to you all about it. Okay. So what are we doing tonight? Oh, yeah, I wanted to add. Like I said, since I'm no expert, please add the relevant information that you have about this topic. Please tell me about your experiences and any research that you've done. I've only done a little bit of research. The Women's Center is just cool, and they let you do programming about stuff you're kind of interested in. So, you know, let me know what you all know about the topic. Okay, so we're going to hang out tonight. The goal is to have a discussion. I'm a fairly casual person, so I kind of just want to hang out and get everyone's thoughts on this topic and allow a dialogue about it. I'm going to give a brief history lesson because I think that's important, because I don't just want to talk about the pressure that we feel. I want to get to the root of it. Where did it come from, right? So it's a history lesson, and we're going to go decade by decade. And we're going to talk about the political and or social climate of each decade, the popular hairstyles, and if there's a correlation. I would argue that. Okay, so a brief history lesson. We're going to take it back to the Atlantic slave trade. So you all probably know, hopefully, about the transatlantic slave trade. I mean, I know our school systems have kind of failed us, but hopefully you'll have heard of it. So it lasted, it was around like the 16th century, 18th century, through the 19th century, excuse me. Primarily African people from West and Central Africa were transported to the colonies in what's now known as North and South America, right? So this is not new information, hopefully. But during the process of kidnapping, shipping, and acclimating people to the life of a slave in what we now call North and South America, the stripping of traditional African culture, which varied by community, right? The whole continent's very different. But the stripping of that culture, of the cultures, happened during that. The hairstyles of Africans before the transfer to North and South America included locks and twists and other elaborate and creative looks. Herbal treatments and combs were used in Africa on the hair of men and women. But during the slave trade, a lot of the hair was cut off. So this is a really common picture that you'll see to represent people in that era, people who were enslaved in that era, because the hair was chopped off. So a lot of head wraps were worn. And without those treatments, like those herbal treatments that I said, and the combs, a lot of Africans in enslavement began using like bacon grease, butter, and kerosene as hair conditioners and cleaners. This is also when that whole light-skinned, straight-haired women versus dark-skinned, curly-haired women, are you all familiar with that kind of tension that is sometimes with people? Well, light-skinned, straight-haired women who were in enslavement were offered for more money during auctions. So a lot of Black individuals internalized that, and now even today we can see how the media looks at light skin, straight hair as more beautiful than dark skin, curly hair. So that has a really long history, right? And it's such like a significant, like, do you all have you ever had these conversations? What we see as beautiful today, it's really different than dark skin and short curly hair, right? Have you all ever, is this brand new information?
No,
Okay.
and I think it's a little simplified.
Sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
because it has more to do with who would work in the house,
Oh,
who
absolutely.
would have the better jobs.
Yeah.
There was a preference even among people of other races for the paler you looked.
Sure.
So it wasn't just blacks or Africans.
Sure.
It was a preference going back, I think, probably Queen Victoria, to a very pale, white,
Right.
ghostly look.
Okay, absolutely. Now I'm going to talk about Black Americans, which is why I started with when Africans came to America.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I can only go back so far. I don't think you can talk about black hair without talking about C.J. Walker. Have you all? Okay, is she new? Or have you all heard of her?
No.
Okay, great. Yeah, of course. A lot of people have. I'm going to read a little bit of history about her. Her name's Sarah Breedlove McWilliams Walker, born 1867, so after slavery. But let's see. The main things that I wanted to talk about, or want you all to know, she suffered from a scalp condition in the 1890s that caused her to lose some of her hair. She experimented with products made by another black woman entrepreneur named Annie Malone. That was a new name for me. I feel like I've always known of Madam C.J. Walker, like that's who everyone talks about. But she, she used another woman's product, so I thought that was really awesome. She actually began selling the Malone products at one point. So anyway, in 1905, she married Charles Joseph Walker, which is where you see C.J. Walker. She changed her name, moved to Denver, founded her own business, and began selling Madam C.J. Walker's Wonderful Hair Grower, which was a scalp conditioning and healing formula. So she basically just began going door to door, giving home demonstrations, and by the end of her career, she had schools that taught the Walker system. She had a broad offering of cosmetics, licensed Walker agents, and Walker schools. So she's the first self-made woman-identified millionaire. So she's pretty cool. We have to talk about her if we're going to talk about black hair. And then I also think we should talk about Garrett Morgan. Have you all heard of Garrett before? Okay, that's right. He invented a lot of things, including the traffic light, the gas mask, and the first hair relaxer. So I think that's kind of interesting. He started his company in 1913, G.A. Morgan Hair Refining Company. Let me tell you the story about him. It says, one day while tinkering in his workshop, Morgan accidentally discovered that some of the chemicals used in sewing machine repair business also relaxed the tight curl pattern of kinky hair. So to market his new discovery, he started his refining company. And later he created both a hair dyeing ointment and a curved tooth pressing comb. So that was pretty cool. That was new information to me. We always hear about Madam C.J. Walker, so this was cool. But, okay, at the very bottom here it says the harsh alkaline chemicals he used in his products are no longer in most relaxing systems. So when you see that no lie on the box, that's what they're talking about, because people noticed that those chemicals were really damaging the hair. So they try to make the product a little safer. So what do you all think of, let me go back. When you think of the 1950s, what comes to your mind? You can just throw out terms, ideas.
Like Stepford Wives, like very
Yeah.
Leave It to Beaver type.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely think of like I Love Lucy. I go there immediately since that was a popular TV show that I mentioned. Okay, so the political climate and social climate, conservative. That's how we look at it today when we look back. Eisenhower was president. He was a conservative. So, but there was a large growth in the economy. It was after World War II. Servicemen were coming home and working in new jobs, buying new homes, buying new cars, creating families. I'm sure you all have heard of the baby boom. So most watched TV show. Did you want to add something?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I Love Lucy, Leave It to Beaver
Yeah.
was unique to white middle class
Absolutely.
Okay, women of color, whether they were Asian, Hispanic, or Black American,
Yeah.
always worked. We always had two-income homes.
Right.
So that whole genre didn't exist for us, except among the Black elite.
Right. I wanted to talk about I Love Lucy and the shows that come to mind because I wanted to talk about the celebrity that I have up here. Her name is Dorothy Dandridge. Have you all heard of her?
Yes.
Okay. So if you notice her hairstyle, she was considered a style icon. You notice her hairstyle. It reminds me a lot of what we see whenever we watch I Love Lucy and Leave It to Beaver, like the short, curly hair, right? So we can already see how Black women who were considered popular looked like, or started to look like, women who, the white women who were popular at that time period. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
With the short and curly hair. Okay, 1960s. So I put African American civil rights movement on purpose. I didn't want to just put civil rights movement because there are like several civil rights movements around the world. But we had the civil rights movement, the second wave feminist movement, and it's considered the age of youth, right? Like our baby boomers were teenagers and young adults. The popular hairstyle of the time is the afro, seen here, worn by Angela Davis. This picture is actually from 1970, but
Yeah,
I
I was
wanted
about to say
to-
your date is wrong. I lived during that time, I'm sorry.
oh, my date is wrong? Well, the picture's
1960s
from-
was the big wigs for Black women.
Okay. Now, I'm sure there's more than one hairstyle there,
Yeah,
right?
but it didn't
So I
become
wanted to talk
acceptable
about
until...
the civil rights movement and how, well, it began in the 1950s, but, you know, a big portion of it was during the 60s. And then, and Angela Davis had a lot to do in the civil rights movement. So I wanted to use her to talk about what we considered radical and what this hairstyle meant.
But that
Does that make
style didn't
sense?
really become popular until the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all
So-
I was pointing at. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you so much for that. I appreciate it. So